Imagine a world shrouded in secrecy, where the whisper of dissent could lead you to vanish overnight. Welcome to the Soviet Union's Gulags, a network of forced labor camps that existed from the early 1930s until after Stalin's death in 1953. In these isolated reaches of Siberia and beyond, millions of lives were upended. This hidden hell remains one of history's most chilling examples of state repression and human endurance. The term gulag comes from the Russian acronym for the Main Administration of Corrective Labor Camps, a bureaucratic title that belies the grim reality faced by its prisoners. Under Stalin's reign, the gulags became tools of terror, designed to enforce compliance and punish those labeled as enemies of the state. Writers, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens alike were swept into its clutches, often with little more than a whisper of evidence against them. Life in the gulags was brutal. Prisoners endured harsh conditions, sub-zero temperatures, insufficient food, and relentless work. Labor varied from mining to logging, with quotas so demanding they were often unattainable. This was a world where survival required more than just physical strength. It demanded an indomitable spirit. Despite the inhumanity, stories of resilience and solidarity emerged from these camps. Prisoners formed secret networks to share food and knowledge. They preserved their humanity through whispered poetry and clandestine art, reminders that their spirits could not be fully crushed. The clandestine sharing of Alexander Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago encapsulates this resistance, providing the outside world with a harrowing account of life under Soviet repression. But why did such a system exist? The Gulag served multiple purposes: a means to economically exploit labor, a deterrent against dissent, and a method to cleanse perceived ideological threats. As Stalin's paranoia grew, so did the number of incarcerations, culminating in the Great Terror of the late 1930s, where purges became commonplace, and the gulags swelled with victims. It's estimated that more than 18 million people passed through the gulag system. While exact death tolls are difficult to ascertain, millions perished from exhaustion, disease, and execution. The impact of the gulags extended beyond those who suffered directly. Entire communities were scarred, families torn apart, and the cultural fabric of Russia was altered. Despite efforts to conceal these atrocities, the truth of the gulags eventually emerged. It wasn't until the Khrushchev thaw following Stalin's death that the Soviet government began to acknowledge the scale of the injustice. Gradually, survivors' stories found a voice, challenging us to confront this dark chapter of history. As we look back on the legacy of the Soviet gulags, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversities. It's a testament to those who endured and those who perished, a stark reminder of the cost of unchecked power and absolute control. The stories of the gulags urge us to reflect on the value of freedom and the fundamental dignity of every human life. In understanding these past horrors, we are better equipped to guard against their reoccurrence in the future.